So, hello everyone. Um, yeah, as Philip mentioned, I will be talking a bit about how WordPress ecosystem handles the security. This talk is not about telling you that WordPress is amazing or WordPress sucks. No, it's totally about something else. It's more about that WordPress over all its years in the open source space made some things really well and messed up also quite a few things along the road. And you can learn from this. When you will be building your own ecosystems, your own products with ecosystems around it, well, it's better to learn from mistakes of others rather than making them on your own. I work at PatchStack. PatchStack is a security company, and we do have quite a fair share of trying to make the whole WordPress ecosystem much more secure. So yeah, I do have quite a lot of inside knowledge, which you will see over the slides in a few seconds. So let's start with the first question. Is WordPress even secure? What do you think? Okay, there is a problem because of the lights. I really can't see you, so you will have to shout. Do you think that WordPress is secure? Yes or no? Kind of. It depends, right? I forgot to say, do not say it depends or something. But yeah, that's true. WordPress is truly secure. I mean, we are talking about the CMS that powers over 40% of the internet. And in the last year, there were only 7 vulnerabilities inside of it. And let's be honest, they weren't even severe. And let's remember, it's a dream of every hacker to find a vulnerability inside of it because, well, they could gain access to those 40% of websites, right? And they are constantly failing. Really, I can even say that WordPress is one of the most secure open source CMSs out there. There is just one tiny catch. If you don't use any plugin. And that's kind of a problem, right? Because no one uses WordPress out of the box. It's not that good, let's be honest, it's quite limited. We're using WordPress because we can install all those plugins, all those themes, that we can transform our website to whatever we want, just by installing a few additional components. The problem is that 96% of vulnerabilities found in the WordPress ecosystem are related to plugins. So every year at PatchStack, we do this white paper, and we kind of sum up what happened in the security space in the WordPress world. And last year, in general, there were around 8,000 vulnerabilities found. And 96% were related to plugins, 4% related to themes, and those 7 vulnerabilities, which goes for 0.001, this is the core. And you know, that's a really big problem. And it's not just a WordPress problem, because WordPress isn't the only open source project that has a strong core and a big third-party ecosystem around it. If we look at also other systems like Laravel, Node, whatever, it doesn't matter. They all have the similar structure. There is this centralized product that is very secure, that has totally different security strategies, and we have this huge, vast ecosystem around it that is very often built with love and passion, but that doesn't always follow the same security rules. And that's a problem. And that's why I think that talking about WordPress as a kind of example is a really good idea. Because, you know, let's start with the fact that WordPress is, well, it's old. It's mature, right? It's over 20 years old already. During those years, it survived already a lot of changes. When WordPress started, PHP 4 was a thing. No one heard about things like React, and AI was just a thing for nerds. Right now, we have PHP 8. WordPress is also switching more towards React with some components. Now we're open up for a lot of things related to AI. So yeah, WordPress is constantly evolving. And let's not forget, it's the most popular CMS in the world, so it's tested constantly. Yeah, I need to have a small drink. Okay, so I'm from Poland, and Polish people are quite negative. We always try to start with the negatives. But I decided to change a bit, and I'm trying to learn by always starting with positives. That's why I will start with listing a few things that WordPress did really well all over the years, and what you can learn and try to also add to your products. One of the things that I think WordPress did almost perfectly is their simple update mechanism. Because remember, WordPress is very often used by less technical people. So it differs from, for example, Laravel, right? And the challenge was to make sure that everyone will be able to update all the components in an easy way. That users will never have an excuse why they didn't update a plugin. That's why in WordPress there are so many ways you can update things. So, for example, you can just go to the admin panel, press update, and a plugin will update. Cool. If you prefer working with a terminal, there is WP CLI. So you can either just use your keyboard, or maybe start writing some bash scripts that will do it in bulk and automated. There's also an API. So again, if you want to write some automation, yeah, here you go. Because of those two, there are also a lot of third-party tools that allows you to manage multiple WordPress sites and update them from one centralized dashboard. Again, it's making managing of it much, much easier. WordPress even has auto-updates. I know that some people are using it. Personally, I prefer to disable it. It's sometimes a bit tricky. You may be surprised in the morning that your website stopped working. But still, it's there, and I know that some people are happy with it. So, cool. And last but not least, there is even a force update feature. So, for example, if there is some severe vulnerability found in a very popular plugin, the WordPress repository can force update a plugin on all the websites that are connected. Just like this. So as you see, as a WordPress user, it's very simple to update all the components. They did everything to make sure that it will be easier. And that's kind of a lesson for you too. Make sure that your users will never, ever have had an excuse why they wouldn't do an update. Also, it's always very important to lead by example. And having secure core is one of those things that WordPress also did well. It wasn't always like this, because I was even affected by one core vulnerability that happened many, many years ago. But at this point, like I said, year after year, there are 7, 6 vulnerabilities per year, and none of them is severe. So that's a very good score. But like I said, it didn't happen out of thin air. After having some talks with people responsible for the security in the WordPress core, I learned that they did two most important things that changed a lot. First of all, at some point they introduced the WordPress security team. Because security people think a bit different than developers. Because developers love to create things, right? We love to create stuff. Security people, they are more a bit like QA. They prefer to destroy stuff. So it's a totally different mindset. And having people like this that will make sure that the new features that are introduced to a CMS will get reviewed was very important. But it wouldn't be enough without at some point introducing a bug bounty program in WordPress core. Bug bounty, so just paying security researchers for finding vulnerabilities. And it worked really magically, despite the fact that they are not paying that much money for finding vulnerabilities, but still it was enough for many researchers to find vulnerabilities, and the security team, based on those vulnerabilities, was able to, first of all, fix them, and also find similar cases in the rest of the code base. So thanks to those two simple actions, the core is where it is today. It's much, much better. It's much more secure. There is still some room to improve, but still, it's a very solid foundation. And what you can learn from that? The simple thing. As your core product should be an example. If you want your ecosystem to be secure, you should be secure on the first place. WordPress also has a bit different approach to bug bounties in general, because running a bug bounty is quite costly. Because if you want to run a bug bounty, probably the first step you do is first to hire someone who will review your code. It costs money, then you have to fix it, then you can start the bug bounty. Then you will have to argue with people who will be sending fake reports, so you have to validate it. Annoying as hell. And also, let's remember that most plugin creators in the WordPress ecosystem wouldn't be able to afford doing something like this. That's why in the WordPress ecosystem, two main bug bounties are run by third-party companies. One is PatchStack, where I work at, and the second one is WordFence. Both of us have a plugin and a whole platform that allows people to have more secure websites, so we need this data. That's why we are paying those bounties, because thanks to this, we get the data, researchers get the money, and kind of as a side effect, the whole ecosystem is getting more and more secure. And having a bug bounty is something that I would always recommend. If you don't have enough money, think about being creative. For example, Dutch government giving away those T-shirts with, I hacked the Dutch government and all I got is a lousy T-shirt. And it works. People really want those T-shirts. But of course, WordPress also messed up a bit here and there. And like I said, I'm Polish. I love talking about the negatives, right? So, first of all, WordPress didn't do enough to control the whole ecosystem enough. What WordPress always wanted was to have this huge repository that consists out of tens of thousands of plugins. And it's very easy to add your own plugin. You just go through one simple initial review, and that's it. After this, you can update whatever you want. And we had a few cases when someone purchased a plugin from someone else and insert malicious code in it, because the updates aren't checked. I mean, last week they decided that finally there will be some simple review of every update, but it's just a simple code sniffer, so probably it won't change a lot. On the other hand, I said that the WordPress repository is huge. It is. But in most cases, it's outdated. Over 50% of the plugins weren't updated in the last 2 years. So we can say that there is a huge chance that most of the repository is abandoned. On the other hand, there are so many plugins that weren't even installed on more than 100 websites. So it's a huge and beautiful number, but that's it. And the lesson that comes from this, remember, if you are building an ecosystem around your product, take care of it, because it will affect your reputation. Because that's a problem with WordPress. Everyone will say that WordPress isn't secure. WordPress is secure. The ecosystem isn't. But everyone will tell that it's WordPress' fault. Another huge mistake that WordPress makes is about keeping users in the dark. I told you that WordPress is really good about updates, right? They're really amazing. You will have those notifications in the dashboard. You will constantly know that the new version is available. They're doing great here. On the other hand, the moment when the plugin gets closed because of security reasons, there is almost no notification whatsoever. They are hiding it. There is one place you can find it, but still. There is even a ticket open for already 12 years about adding notifications about closed plugins because of security reasons. And all we got is, no, we shouldn't show it because users might get scared. So, but if you are thinking, well, maybe there is a technical limitation. No, there isn't. We even have an API that can provide this data that the plugin is closed. But WordPress just don't want to show it because, like I said, it doesn't look nice. And the lesson from this is very simple. Be transparent and honest. If there is a vulnerable component inside of your ecosystem, just write about it, inform your users. It's much better to tell them that they're using vulnerable software rather than they will be surprised, well, surprisingly hacked because of it. And with WordPress, it's the other way around. WordPress is also good with kind of spreading this false sense of security. So, for example, we have this saying in the WordPress ecosystem, there is a plugin for that. And it's not only a saying, it's also kind of the way of thinking that if you want your website to be performant, install a performance plugin. You want your website to be secure, install a security plugin. It's a horrible logic, but it is as it is. Sadly, this leads to the fact that a lot of people think that, yeah, I installed it, I'm secure, right? On top of this, because, you know, in the whole ecosystem, hosting companies helped WordPress a lot. Without them, WordPress wouldn't have this market share as it has. They created a lot of educational materials, everything. In short, people trust hosting companies. The problem is that hosting companies very often say, yeah, if you will be using our hosting, you will be secure. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't even need to install anything else because we got you covered. Don't worry. And you know what? We did an experiment this year. It turns out that in 87% of cases, hosting companies aren't doing anything about protecting against vulnerabilities. Nothing, like zero. They don't even have anything installed on the server that would try to prevent it. But still, they're selling you this false peace of mind. And again, what you can learn from this? Like I said, always be transparent, always be honest. That's kind of the thing that WordPress is totally failing. And to sum up, it's very important that if your product is building an ecosystem around it, you have to take care of it, because the reputation of the whole ecosystem will also affect you. Like I said, WordPress is secure, and everyone thinks it's not, because of the ecosystem. As you saw here, security is much more than just writing secure code. I mean, it's very important to have secure code, that's one thing, but there are a lot of procedures around it, a lot of education, a lot of things. And you have to cover all of it, not just the code part. And remember, it's your role to make sure that your ecosystem will follow some security, good practices. You should do whatever you can to make sure that the whole ecosystem thrives in terms of security. Because if you are the core product, you are the role model. So remember about it. Okay, so thank you very much. If you would like to read me from time to time, I have a newsletter. I write sometimes about security, about CMS, about all the stuff. But are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. From online, we don't have questions. And in this public, have somebody a question for Maciek? Okay, I didn't see anybody. Okay, thank you, Maciek, for your talk.
Thank you so much.
And we have now a pause for lunch, and we see in 2:30 here.
Thanks.